Hey everybody, We'll Make Creations here, and I'm G, and Sherry is behind the camera. And today we're going to be showing you how to make these little gift cinch bags. They are very versatile. You can stick any kind of little trinkets and gift cards and little gifts inside of it, and then you just pass the handle through the loop and cinch it up. You could also hang these from a Christmas tree, and so they're great for little gifts, gift giving stuff. So also I want to show you all the different variations. You can use any scraps that you got laying around. You could use a fat quarter. Will make 2 of these sides, and so you just really need a 9x20 piece of fabric, but you know, just grab what you have laying around, and as long as it can be folded and it fits on this, then you can have your trinket bag or your little cinch bag. So this was made with the lace vinyl and binding for the strap and the loop. This is binding for the strap and the loop. This is flannel and just regular cotton on the inside. These are all cotton here, and I used pieces of zipper to make my loops and my strap. So that's another fun thing you can do with you if you have extra zipper tape laying around. Just take part of it off and use part of it for the strap. So anyway, that's what we're showing you here today, and let's get to it. So what you're going to need is 2 different fabrics, one for the exterior, one for the interior. It can be a fat quarter. Like I said, fat quarter can make 2 sides. I'm just grabbing some fabric that I have here that I know is bigger than this folded. So this template makes everything so easy. Also today I'm going to use SF 101 on the interior part of the bag to give it a little bit more structure. So that's an option. You don't have to do it, but if you want to give it a little bit more structure, you could even SF 101 both sides of your cotton. It's up to you. And then, like I said, if you use vinyl, you don't have to use any kind of SF 101. So right now I'm going to grab my exterior fabric and I'm going to fold it with right sides together, and then I'm going to take my interior fabric and fold it with right sides together. Now with this piece here, I just got to make sure that the template will fit on here and not be a problem. See right there, I'm coming into a problem. So I'm going to scoot this over to here, and actually I'm just going to rough cut this off of here so I'm not dealing with such a big piece of fabric. So I've got that to where I know it's going to fit. So I can lay these both right on top of each other and match these folds up nicely. And this is a nice, good, fast way to make this. So you're making this one cut on both of your fabrics. So we're just going to line this template up where it says fold here. Let me make sure I'm nice and folded. If you are worried about it, then you can press it so you'll have a nice defined fold, but it doesn't really matter. So what we're going to do is take our cutter and just go right around this template. As you notice, I skipped the V part first, right? And now I'm going to go into here. These cut marks allow your blade to get in there and cut without an issue. So there, you're going to go straight in, and now you're cut, only I didn't get it up here of all places. Okay, so there are your 2 pieces, your exterior and your interior. Now I'm going to show you a trick on cutting your SF 101 next. Now, for cutting your SF 101, I've got a little trick, still using the same template, but it's how we're going to position it on our SF 101 that will allow us to cut it a tad bit smaller so that we don't have to worry about it running into or spilling out of our edges of our cut. So what you want to do is you want the bumps of the SF101, which is the adhesive side, to be against your mat. And then you fold this, so the bumps here will be against your template. So it's folded and the bumps are against my mat and now against my template. Now normally we would set this right on the fold and cut it just like we did with the exterior and interior fabrics. However, we want this to be a little bit smaller. So I'm not gonna put it on the fold, I'm gonna put it down below the fold. See, if you see here, let's say I've got this fold right here. I'm gonna start with my template below the fold. That way it is a little bit smaller that way. And also I'll push it off the edge a little bit so it's a little smaller width-wise. So now we're just gonna cut it like we did the other template or the other fabrics, excuse me. And then now we have a little bit smaller of a piece of SF101 to adhere to our interior fabric, which we will do next. Okay, so here's our interior piece of fabric. We're going to lay it right side down, and then we're going to lay our SF101 with the bumps on the wrong side of the fabric. That's the adhesive part, so we're going to just align this to where it's on here, but it's not overflowing now. And it doesn't matter if it's perfect or not. It's just giving this a little bit of structure. So we're just gonna iron that on, and that just gives a little bit more oomph to the fabric. Okay, that'll do it. Okay, so I have a piece of scrap binding here. I'm gonna cut 10 inches right here, and I'm gonna cut 2.5 inches. So 1, 2.5. It's easy to do on this board because the halves are white and your inch marks are black, so makes measuring so much easier. And so these are gonna be the first thing we sew at the machine, because instead of having like a floppy piece of binding, we're gonna take a decorative stitch and make this a little bit more substantial. So on our interior piece, we are gonna measure down 2.5 inches from this point of the V. So 2.5 inches down. And since we just measured this piece of binding, all we have to do is line that up and then make the mark, okay? And the same way on this side, we'll line it up with the point of the V and make our mark, okay? So now when we get over to the machine, we're gonna know where to place these, okay? And then we will be folding this, and I'm just gonna take a clip and just clip this into place just so I know that's the one that I'm gonna be putting straps on. So, and our other piece is already folded and ready to go. It doesn't need any markings. So your exterior, because we cut it folded, we had it folded right sides together and cut it, so it's already ready to transfer right over to the machine. So we'll just clip that just to carry it to the machine so it stays nice. A little smorgasbord of clips there. I have all sizes. So now all we have to do is take this over to the machine and we're good to go. So today I'm sewing on a Janome M7, and I like to use the decorative stitch under the quilt mode. So you're gonna push this quilt symbol, push this, and now I wanna go down to stitch number 20, And that is my go-to stitch when I'm doing any kind of binding. So this is a decorative stitch on a piece of binding that I'm going to be showing you. And as you see, it's highlighted. She has saved these as a favorite. Yes, I've changed the stitch width and stitch length. So that is my preferred setting. Okay, so now I have my machine set up for what I want to do. I'm just going to put a leader piece in there and just start this going. And I'm going to just feed my pieces in here and get a good decorative stitch going on here. And this, I'm going to just push this and get this next piece going. And I'm going to just go through the whole piece right like that. And that's going to give a little structure to this piece of binding, but just by stitching on it a little bit. If your machine doesn't do a decorative stitch, you could actually go 1/8 of an inch from each edge and get a little structure that way. You could even take a stitch right down the middle with straight stitches. It doesn't matter. So I'm at the end here. I'm gonna cut this off and show you what we've got. So all I have to do is cut my chains off where I chain piece those, put my leader away, and now I can close these. And what you can actually do is go ahead and baste these onto your interior fabric. So where the mark is, you want to put this in the center of that marking.
And you want to change your stitches because you were on decorative stitches.
Absolutely. Good catch, Sherry. So we're just going to go right here and baste this on. Just back and forth, just baste it in place. And then I'll do that to the loop as well. So I'll fold my binding piece in half. And then I'll put it centered onto that mark I had previously made. And then I'll just baste this in place too. But for the rest of the project, I want to use my HP foot and my HP plate. So I will change that out and we'll come right back. Here's what it should look like at this stage. But we're gonna set the interior piece aside and do the exterior first. I have my machine set up with the HP plate and the HP foot. I prefer this when I'm doing 1/4 inch sewing. So I'm just going to make sure that this is nice and lined up, and it is. And I'm going to start here at the fold, and I'm going to back stitch it a couple stitches, and then I am just going to do this 1/4 inch all the way up here to this point. So I'll go slower. I'm going to come here and I'll leave my needle down and my foot lifts up so that I can pivot. And then I'm just going to come straight towards this point. And when I get here, I'm going to back stitch a couple and take it out. And next, I'll be doing it to this side. So if you're comfortable starting off on a point, you can do it this way, or you can actually just turn it and stitch it this way. I'm fine with stitching it from the point, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a couple stitches and then back stitch, and then I'm going to come down here to this point and then come straight down the other side. And that's all that needs to be done right now to this exterior fabric. So this is what your exterior piece should look like. I have stitched here to here, back stitching at the beginning and end, and I have stitched here to here, back stitching at the beginning and end, and this V has not been sewn at all. So it's not to be sewn yet, so leave that alone, and we're gonna show you what to do to the interior piece. It's sewn a little differently. So this is your interior piece. Remember, we just basted our handle and loop on. So we're gonna fold it with right sides on the inside. So you should be looking at the the inside, the wrong side of the fabric. And we're just gonna line this up. Okay. You can put a little clip if you want, or 2 or 5 or 10, however many you want to use. And we've got this ready. So on this first side, I'm gonna do exactly like I did on that exterior piece. I'm just gonna come right up this side.
Now keep in mind you cut this a little bit smaller so
Yes.
that it doesn't have overhang.
The SF101 is smaller, yes.
So you're going to go by the edge of your fabric.
Yes, and don't pay attention to that SF101. So we're going to come up here and we're going to pivot and we're going to come straight across that loop that's there, and I'm going to back stitch a little bit over that loop and come up to the top and then back stitch again. Now, for this other side, you want to leave a 3-inch opening so that way you can turn the whole project through it. So you can measure it, or you can just put your 4 fingers here and just make sure you're leaving enough space for you to turn it. Okay, so I'm going to start up here at the point again. I'm going to drop my needle. I'm going to back stitch a couple stitches. I'm going to go down. I know that my loop is in here, my handle is in here correctly. Just make sure it hasn't, moved over here to where you're going to be sewing it. So we're just going to go straight across that handle. Going to back stitch it a few times. Going to come down here to the corner, turn it. I'm not over. I need to do one more stitch. Now we're going to come down here and we will come down and just back stitch really good. And we're going to lift our needle. We're going to come down here and start our stitches again. Now, if you want to measure it, you can totally measure it. You got 3 inches here. Let me find me a ruler. We'll mark it off just so everyone's comfortable with how much I'm marking it off. So we're going to do 3 inches. So there's where I stopped, and here's where I'll start again. Give me something to mark with. Here's where I'll start again. So this whole 3 inches is not going to be stitched on. Okay, so we'll start right here. We'll drop our needle. We'll back stitch. We'll start and go back stitch a couple times. That way, when we're turning this, none of the stitches gets ripped. Okay, so we're going to cut all these loose threads, and I'll show you what it's going to look like. So this is your interior piece, what it should look like right now. You have your opening here, no stitching between these 2 marks, right? So we stitched here to this point, leave the V open again, stitch from here down to here, back stitching here, and then leaving this empty, and back stitching here and leaving that 3 inches empty. That's for turning. Okay, so that's what you do.
She stitched all the way down, in case that wasn't clear.
Yeah. So here to here, back stitch real good, and then a space, and here to here, back stitch up to here. All right, so here's your exterior and your interior. They're both sewn without the V's sewn, right? So next we're just going to take and reduce the bulk from the corners and the points. That way when it's turned, any excess bulk in the seam can be trimmed away. Every time it's going to be in a point, I like to reduce some of that fabric there.
Make sure you don't cut your 1/4 inch.
Make sure
line.
don't cut into your stitching when you're reducing this stuff. And this isn't totally necessary, but if you have some thicker fabrics, it will help. And see, coming into the corner, that's going to be a point. I like to take it away from that. Okay, so that's that. And next, we're gonna take this exterior bag and turn it right side out. Not the interior bag, the exterior bag, okay? And we're gonna push the corners out. Now, I like to use this little wooden pusher outer and get these corners pushed out nice before I'm going to set this inside the interior bag. So remember, there's a point right here. So push that out. Now you can go and iron this if you want, or you can just finger press it because it's going to go inside the other bag to get sewn. So you need to push out all your corners and just make sure your seams are nice and lined up like that. So I've pushed all that out. So now I'm gonna like kind of bend it in half and stick it down inside of this interior bag. Okay, so the exterior and the interior have right sides touching right now. So I'm just gonna keep my hand in this bag and just kind of push the corner to the corner and push this corner to the corner, line it all up. And then what's most important is to line this V up, side seam to side seam. And you can either marry them, like push one to one side and one to the other to get them to marry the right way, or you can press your seams open and go at it that way. But right here, I've just pushed one seam to the left and the other seam to the right. That way these stitches will marry. This seam will marry. And I'll do it on the other side as well. Let's see. Sorry, I'm probably moving Sherry all over the place. So here we go again. I'm going to match this seam with this seam and push this to the left, push the bottom one to the right, and you can feel that they have joined harmoniously there. Now I'm just going to keep straightening like this, making sure that all this is pushed down, because now I'm going to be sewing this. So I'm just lining up this, all the V area, and then I'll come back and sew it. I need to go to the other side and get my smaller clips, and I'll be right back. By the way, Sherry was yelling at me because I wasn't calling this by its name. This is the handy helper. This is because I totally spaced what we call it. So this is the handy helper, and that's what I use to push out the corners. And you can use it to flatten seams as well. So this and the template and anything I'm using in my videos will be linked in the description below. Okay, so now we are just going to make sure that this whole V area is aligned well. Remember, don't let this SF101 mess you up. You're going to be following the edge of the fabric, not the edge of the 101. Remember, our 101 is shorter than our fabric, so because that's to keep the bulk out of the seams and stuff. So another reason why I like to use the HP foot when I'm sewing this is because it's a very skinny, lower profile type of foot, so I don't get it you know, jammed up with a big old walking foot or something. So I've got this clipped all together. I'm gonna put it inside my machine I just started right here at this point. And I'm gonna sew a 1/4 inch and back up. I'm gonna sew a 1/4 inch along this whole V. So what I'm gonna do is take a few stitches, and then I'm gonna straighten up again. Take a few stitches and straighten up again. It's a little bit fiddly on this part, but you can do it. Just keep going. Now, when you get to the point of the V, you're gonna come out further than that so that when you turn, you're gonna be at a 1/4 inch. Obviously, I missed the mark, so I'm gonna keep stitching a few more stitches until I know I can turn this and be at a 1/4 inch coming up this other side. And I am, so I'm gonna just remove the clips as I get to them. And this is really the most fiddly part of it all, but if you just take it slow, you're not in a big hurry, and just get around this V. Okay. As you see, I'm just taking a few stitches, then I'm gonna remove a clip, check and make sure I'm still lined up, keep going. Here I am coming up against, so this is the other point, so we're halfway done. Pivot. And I'm just still making sure my 2 fabrics are aligned here, and they are. If you use plenty of clips, even though you're gonna have to remove them, they still help you stay aligned while you're twisting and turning your project. Okay, so just keep going. Now we're coming down to the other V. So you want to just make sure it's nice and flat under your needle. Come past the V. Check it. If you turn it, is it going to be a 1/4 inch? No. So I'm going to come 2 more stitches and it should be good. I'm good to go now. Now that I can line this back up at the edge of my fabric, and that's a 1/4 inch. So as you can see, this foot makes this a lot easier to do than a big bulky foot. So whatever machine you have, if you have a smaller profile type of foot, that's probably going to be your best bet for doing this. And then I'm going to back stitch at where I started, where I ended, and I'm going to cut these excess threads. I'm also going to cut into this V, right like that. So when I turn it, I'm being sure not to hit my stitches there. But, ooh, I almost cut into it. Anyway, you're going to cut out this bulk. Be sure not to cut your stitches. And going to cut down into this a little bit more on this side. Okay, so you're just making this to where when you turn it, it'll be smoother. Okay, so that's that. So this is what it should look like. And now we're going to go in here and pull this exterior bag out. Just keep turning all this right sides out. Okay. Push it out with your hand first. If you can get to the corners good, then do that. If you can't, then get your handy helper out. Okay. And while we have a hole here, we can use our handy helper to go into each bag and make sure it's pushed out correctly. Okay, so we'll pull that out. Get this smoothed out. Okay. All right, there's the interior bag that's pushed out right. Now let's go in here, the same hole, and you can start working on that exterior bag, making sure it's all pushed out right. You did it before, but you're just rechecking, make sure all your points are pushed out and your corners are pushed out, okay? Now, we're going to take this and we're going to sew our opening closed. Let me get this pushed out better. See there, I almost missed that push out. So just make sure you pushed on all your corners. Now this opening can just, if you pull, you put your fingers in here and pull, you can get this tucked in nice. And all you're gonna have to do, and this is the interior bag, so it'll never be seen really. You're gonna just push these seams back together, okay? And then you're gonna stitch this closed. Just with an 1/8 inch stitch, I'm gonna come in here, I'm gonna back stitch, and I'm gonna come over here and back stitch to where it's the opening. Okay, so I can make a mark for myself and know where this ends, and this is where it begins. Or you can just eyeball it, but I'm just showing you so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm gonna start right here. I'm gonna take a couple stitches, back stitch it, and then I'm just gonna stay like 1/8 of an inch away from that opening to get these two sewn together. And then I'm gonna just kind of come off of it. I'm gonna do a back stitch and then cut my thread. I'm gonna cut away any thread excess, like right here, and there, it's sewn together. So now we will turn this bag. We'll put the interior part inside the exterior part. Now your bag looks something weird like this. So what you're gonna do is just pull this apart and start stuffing this interior bag down inside the exterior bag, okay? And just work it. Same as before, you wanna make sure all your corners are, you know, pushed out good inside there. And the only thing you have left to do after lining this all up is you're gonna take and top stitch around the V. Okay, so we're gonna line this up here. Nice. I can put a clip and hold it. Whoops, I dropped it. Put a clip here and hold that in place. Now I'm just rolling the seams together to make sure they're nice and lined up. Okay, my seams match here. They could be rolled out some more here. There we go. And it's ready. So now we're going to just top stitch this. Again, it's I'm gonna pull my thread up from the bottom so I don't have a rat's nest. And hold on to my threads when I first start, that way.
And your top stitch length
is 3.4. Thank you, Sherry. Trying to save me.
Yes, myself too.
Thank you. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so we're gonna just drop down in here, and I'm gonna use the center of my foot, this small part of my right hand foot. I'm gonna use the center and follow it along the edge, and that'll give me a nice top stitch here. And actually, the way I've got this in my machine, which is the easiest way, my bottom line thread is what's going to be showing on this outside, which is totally fine with me because it's almost see-through. It's almost, you almost can't see it. So I'm just, and if you want it to be decorative, just put your, you know, the color that you want showing on the exterior bag, make sure that it's in your bobbin, if you've got this oriented this way. There again, go past on the point. That way when you turn it, it's going to be where you want it. You're just making sure this is nice and smooth right under your needle. This part doesn't matter, you know, it's not bothering anything. You're just going to come up here when you get to the seam, kind of use that as a stopping so you can pivot. And see here how I'm squishing this down? It's totally fine because I just need this right here to be nice and straight and nothing underneath it. Okay. Just straighten this out before I get to it. go a little bit past it. A little bit past it here again on the point. That way when I pivot, it's going to be at the center of this foot. And we're going to come up here and meet where we started. And actually I'm going to roll over it just a couple stitches and back stitch a stitch or two and then cut it off. And we'll cut off the two little threads that are showing right here. And there you have it. So it should look like that. And then if you just stick your fingers right here like this and push, you're going to expose your strap and your loop, right? And so just hold this, kind of push this so it opens. Thread this other piece through, so your loop into your strap into your loop, and cinch it up. And there is your little cinch bag. There you have it. There we go.
There you have it.
And here's the other side. I didn't fold mine that good. Let me fold it again.